Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible for healing, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of a new book that we have coming out. This one is called Love Initiation, Learning the Language of Soul. You guys, this was a special project. Our authors traveled from all over the world to Egypt, where we spent 2 weeks together exploring sacred sites with Egyptologist Emil Shaker and his phenomenal team and guides. It was transformational, and the book is going to have an extra special energy for our readers. I wanted to say a huge thank you to our lead authors before I introduce these three authors to you today. John Mercedes and Julianne Santini are the lead authors of Love Initiation, and just a humongous thank you goes out to them today for the big mission they had for this project. It was so beyond, hey, let's just get together and write the book. I mean, they were curating the energy for this a year before we traveled and started to craft the words in the book. And so I thank you both for your mission and your vision and your badass energy and the way that you hold a space for everybody to do their work of healing. Thank you, guys. So, who do I have here with me today? So, as a counselor for over 25 years, Patricia Elliott is a master at using her keen intuition to develop new and innovative techniques that allow clients to heal quickly. I've got Jeffrey Warren with me. He's an artist, musician, and healer committed to helping people transform their lives through the healing arts, holotropic breathwork, and Kundalini yoga. And Kimberly Barrett is here. She has 20 years of experience with energy healing practices and is the owner of Light Upon the Lotus, where she helps clients release trauma, overcome obstacles, and align with their soul's journey. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so great to see you again. Welcome, everyone. How's it
Good
going?
morning.
Thank you, Laura. Great to see you too.
Good morning.
It's
I know I
great to
feel
see
like
you, Laura.
it's reunion day. I get to see you guys and talk to you again. Patty, you're going to start us off today. Tell us about the
Yes.
chapter that you wrote for the book.
Well, I wrote chapter 6 and it's called Fear Busting. And what it was about is it's about me overcoming a situation that allowed me to overcome my fear of angry men. And so that's where I jumped off. I had been listening to a spiritual teacher and had an experience then with an angry man and was able to overcome it for the rest of my life. And it changed the way I counseled people.
I love that we're kicking off with you in this chapter. Angry men. Oh my goodness. All right. So what's the most important thing you want people to know about that? Let's say one of our listeners today is dealing with that. What's the most important thing?
What I discovered was I'd been listening to a spiritual teacher, and my heart was so immensely open that when I encountered this angry man, he was actually in a car next to me and he started yelling at me. But all I did was continue to open my heart more and more and more. Every time he'd yell, I'd get softer and sweeter with him, and my tone would get quieter. And eventually, as this process went through, I found myself being healed. And actually, I think he might have been healed also, because eventually I kind of scared him by being so loving with him.
Well, and of course, this could be anybody. It doesn't just have to be, it could be a man, a woman, it could be a situation where, you're having that energy come at you from that person. Oh my gosh. All right. I need to ask you about that open heart thing for just a second. Like, I think healers are masters at this, and sometimes we can get run over by it. People can take advantage of that open heart thing. How do you maneuver through the world and keep your boundaries in and the open heart, Patty?
Well, truly, if you're sending love out to somebody, you don't need to worry about what they're sending back to you. because the power and the energy and sort of like the spotlight that comes out of your heart, that love is so powerful. It's more powerful than anything. And you will know with people when you're talking to them, you will be able to feel the reaction that they're having. And you will be almost guided through that heart of yours what you can give them that they need to hear. Because, when you're talking about people that are running you over, they're really people that are not in their heart. They're people that are being hurt themselves, and they're wanting to push that hurt out to other people. So when you send out the love, it really is a gentle way of just letting them know there's another energy in the world.
Yeah, there's something else that's possible there. Thank you, Patty. Thank you so much for being here. I remember reading your chapter and I kept waiting for you to give up on him because like it was annoying. He was like annoying, right? And you didn't. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she's not gonna give up on this guy. And I was like, I just kept reading and I'm like, oh, okay, Patty, I want to be like you when I grow up. You're amazing. Thank you so much for everything that you put into your chapter and the trip and the book. We're going to talk a little bit more about the actual Egypt trip in a few minutes, you guys, but let's move on to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Hey, Laura. Hey, fellow readers or fellow authors. So I wrote chapter 14, which is moving towards wholeness, awakening to the power of the inner healer. And for me, the story that I had planned to tell was a little bit different than the story that I actually told. So I really thought it was going to be, or I was really feeling inspired to just share about like how sort of opening and transformative my experience in the holotropic breathwork world has been. And honestly, as I started to sit down and actually try to write that story, like it just wouldn't happen. And I was even a little bit frustrated in the beginning. And soon after, what I realized is that there's actually a different, much more personal, much more vulnerable story that needed to get told, which was not in my plans, to be honest. Yeah, telling that sort of opening portion of the story.
You aren't alone in this author cast. You're not the first author to say that back to me. What came out in the chapter was not what I originally planned. But I would love for you to just tell us a little bit more about when that shifted and you knew that the story that was going to be. What happened in those moments for you? Was that a little bit more of a fear thing, or were you a little more excited because the alignment came in?
Yeah, so I'll say I think it was fear first, like, oh no, this is the story I have to tell. This is terrifying. And in my work with people, I'm constantly encouraging people to really be open to the authentic experiences that are unfolding in front of them. I'm constantly encouraging people to really be authentic and deep. And so I had to really like take my own advice with the chapter. And yeah, for me, it was really, what I realized was that this love initiation, this true experience in my life that has opened up and changed so much actually came from one of the most difficult things that I ever experienced in my heart. So sort of in this moment, sitting at my desk, realizing like, Jeffrey, of course, it's this heartache and heartbreak that ultimately led to this heart opening. And so it was very scary at first, but exciting and really empowering when I realized the true story that I had to tell.
Oh my gosh, and this is what makes you all badasses, seriously. Just badass warriors of love is what all of you are. And I mean, you could hear that call and you could say, no, thanks. Especially because I'm asking you to be published in the world. Like you all took the deep dive. And Jeffrey, when you decided, okay, I'm going to go deeper here. And the open heart seems to be the theme of the morning today already, right? That is not easy, and sometimes it's actually painful What's the thing you want people to know about moving through the world with that open heart and the, um, I guess, willingness to do that deeper, vulnerable dive?
Yeah. So for me, in that experience, and in, I think, all experiences in my life, and what I encourage in other people, is when we're really open to not exactly what we want, not all of our expectations of other people or the world, but when we're really open to the authentic experience that's actually shown up for us, it can be such an incredible doorway into that next great opening, the next great love, the next great success. It's things that show up or that have shown up in my life that seem the most difficult or tragic, that actually are the portals into something that is far greater than maybe I could have even thought or designed for myself. So in all moments there, I think there's great hope if we're willing to actually like do the work that's truly in front of us or shown up in front of us.
Yes, no doubt, for sure. I mean, I think that's really what makes this whole community such a complete joy to work with is y'all are willing to do that. You're willing to look at it and you're willing to go there and you practice this level of awareness. That's just really other level to me. Jeffrey, thank you so much for being here today and for what you put into that chapter.
Thank you, Laura.
Kimberly, tell us about your chapter.
All right. Well, my chapter is chapter 9, and it's titled, um, sorry, my throat, Loving Myself Through Illness and Embracing the Higher Frequencies of Love for Vitality. Um, this came about through probably one of the hardest periods of my life. I mean, when you're a healer and you're in this energetic world, the last thing that you're expecting is for your entire world to turn, head over heels and to have, oh, sorry, my apologies. It's just really still very hard to talk about. Um, to have your health compromised in such a way that leaves you questioning everything, questioning your healing abilities, questioning God and the angels and your faith, and just trying to make it through each day and saying, okay, so I'm still here, so there must be a purpose, but I'm still trying to understand why. So that's kind of how this whole chapter came about, because everybody's like, I want to hear your story. I want to hear your story. And I'm like, do I have to go there? Like, I don't know if I want to go there, but obviously I did.
Oh my gosh. So you all can hear it and you can feel it. I mean, this is no small thing that I've asked these authors to do, and they're stepping up to go to that place so that you don't have to feel alone. And Kimberly, your example in terms of your story is going to be a moment for so many readers because perspective, first of all, but also because you're just modeling this thing, this hope, this love, this connection, this possibility. So if you were talking to somebody in your shoes, maybe what's that thing you want them to know?
That they're not alone, truly. Even in their darkest moments, they're not alone. Even if it's not somebody that's physically there, you are surrounded by more angels than you could imagine, even if that's not something you believe in. And yeah, that if you just try to see the sun through the clouds, the sun's there. You just got to reach for it and wait for the clouds to part.
So, my gratitude is really ginormous for all three of you today. And I just wanted to say thank you again. Thanks, not just for saying yes to this project, but for doing what you all did to step up to that challenge I gave you of getting the stories and also your master teachings into this book. So, I want the readers to understand that you're going to hear Kimberly and Jeffrey and Patty's stories, but then they stepped up as the master teachers they are, and they're going to teach you a practice that they've used in their life to get to doing what they're doing today. So the book has these tools, these practices that will give you an experience, maybe change everything for you. This is big potato stuff in this book, you guys. And it's big potato stuff to me in general. So I thank all three of you for saying yes to this and really doing it the way that I envisioned it. Jeffrey, I want to start with you for this next question. You know, travel, as you especially know, I believe, is transformational for so many reasons. Would you inspire us with one? You got to just pick one of your Egypt moments. Yeah, I'll leave it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, there was there was one temple that we visited where another co-participant and I were really close during the walkthrough of the temple, and I could actually feel energetically what our group was contributing energetically, like for miles and miles and miles out from where we were. There was this deep, like transpersonal, transcendent experience of incredible love and balance of sort of more masculine and more feminine qualities coming together to energetically support and revive um, essentially the planet at large. But for miles and miles out, it was uh, like one of the most incredible things I've experienced in a long time.
For somebody who doesn't even know what you mean when you say for miles I felt this, can you try? Like, tell us a little bit more about how Jeffrey senses that.
So as our group is moving through this place, it feels like we are bringing water to to an infinite desert. We're actually reviving the land. We're reviving the culture. We're reviving maybe a world or a society that isn't feeling the love. And it's as if we're bringing water into the desert. So really allowing this energy to be, yeah, to bring people like new life, deep revival.
I like the thank you for that. The water, yeah, like nourishing, hydrating, revive. I love that word. There are so many moments from Egypt, you guys, that the 2 weeks that we spent together was one transformational, spectacular, phenomenal moment after the next. It was overwhelmingly amazing. So asking these authors to just pick one is probably really rough today, but Kimberly, you're next.
Yeah.
Tell us what your moment was.
So my moment was in the inner sanctum of Isis's temple, where we were all gathered to meet and merge with her energy. And we all perceive energy and messages in different ways. And for me, it's like a Steven Spielberg moment, like I'm seeing things, I'm feeling things, I'm hearing things. And at the core of me, it just vibrated when she said, and this is what cemented my chapter, that I was going to write about this. And she said, "You need to share the beautifulness that's in the brokenness." And right there, it just vibrated through me, and even showing, and I I can never pronounce the name of that Japanese vase that's been put together with gold, but she says, "That's you. That's what you did with yourself, and that's beautiful, and you need to be able to share that with others so that when they feel broken, they know that they can still put themselves back together and be beautiful.
I love that. I can't remember the name of that either. Patty or Jeffrey, do you remember the name of that? Oh gosh, I want to Google it right now, but I can't do it
Don't
in the middle.
remember it.
I think you guys know what that is, and it's such a beautiful idea, Kimberly. Wow, I love the visual of that too, and the message moving through. And I know most all of us had moments like that. I think, y'all have also dedicated your lives to this journey. So you are in practice, and you have been, all of you, for decades. So it's fun to tell stories about channeling messages and about the things that we feel. And some people are going to listen to it and go, well, darn, how come I can't do that? And you can do that. But, you're looking at people who have literally devoted their lives to this journey, understanding it, practicing it, and sharing it. So, with that open heart, just open up and receive even the stories about it today, you guys. Patty, you're next. Tell us one of your moments.
Well, my moment was just absolutely crystal clear, and it was with Sekhmet, the living goddess that was in this stone statue that we went into a small room. She was there, and I felt her communicating with me. I felt the room shaking. It was kind of wavy for me, but I felt like she went straight into my heart and opened it as far as I could possibly have it open. And it was a life-changing experience for me.
All of you are giving me goosebumps today. It's like, I was there, and we also got to watch each other have moments. We were in as one, as we were told all the whole trip, right? We were as one throughout these experiences, and we were holding the space for each other. As Jeffrey said, for the world, like that's no small thing there, right? But I love how you all take responsibility for this, like for how you show up. This is it is changing the world. Um, okay, so many things with Egypt, you guys. I wanted to, say thank you again to our guides there, who were phenomenal and helped me feel safe, even during that time. The war in Gaza broke out while we were there. That was interesting and rough and scary. And it was nice to be with people on a trip, an international travel trip like that, and still feel safe and cared for, just generously cared for. So the thank you is huge to all of the people who did that for us. Kimberly, I want to start with you on this last question for all of you. It's a big one. Let's see how we do on this question. What's the most important thing you want people to know about the language of their soul? That's the subtitle of our book, you guys, Learning the Language of Soul. What do you think, Kimberly?
Good question. And I'm sure each of us have a different answer. Soul doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes soul just whispers in your ear, or shows up as a feather, or a phone call through a friend, or that song on the radio that just happens to be on at the exact moment you need to hear it, or a Facebook meme that just inspires you, that means something in that moment. Soul speaks and communicates in so many ways. You just have to be open to look for, how is soul going to communicate to me today? And also that it's a two-way communication. Talk to your soul. Say, hey, I'm here today. This is what I'm going through. I could use a little guidance, send some my way. Maybe just sit there and see what comes. And if you don't have the time to sit there and see what comes, then look for it throughout the day. Soul is always communicating, always connecting to your heart and filling you with love. So if anything comes in that you think might be your soul communicating and you contract and there's some fear, yeah, that's not your soul.
And that's a good way to help people discern, isn't it? Because there is a feeling of that, and it is love based. And discernment, awareness is everything on this journey. And to start to learn the feeling of it. And this is great because I'm going to go ahead and answer this question. The learning the language of soul for me has been listening to what I'm feeling in my body and discerning if that's aligned or if it's something else. And there's this purpose driven fear, right? So there's this thing that I feel that's a little bit more excitement than the oh heck no fear, that thing that's not love. But this thing with excitement pushes me. It's a GPS, it's this compass. It's like, woo, I feel you, I hear that. Like, I'm not so sure yet, but I've felt it before, so I'm going to trust that that feeling that I've been practicing feeling is that, right? And so there's this practice. You'll probably hear me say the word practice a lot because it's a lifelong practice. And Kimberly, one other thing that you said a minute ago is just is so important. Yeah, everyone is going to answer this question differently. That's why I do the books I do. It's because I want all of your voices and all of the ways that you talk about these topics, because all of the people that read them, they need all of your different ways. They need to hear it in exactly the way only you said it today, which is so important. Patty, what's the thing you want people to know about the language of their soul?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is, for me, it was just this same quiet little voice, but I felt it oftentimes in my gut. I would just get a gut knowing. Although I have had moments where I actually hear a voice saying, you will do this. Like, for one of mine was going to Egypt. I wasn't going to go. I decided I wasn't going. And the next morning I woke up and I heard a voice go, you are going. And I knew immediately that was what I was meant to do. Other times it's simple little things like Kimberly said, where I was on vacation in Portugal and a little tiny yellow feather from a bird just came down in answer to a question I just asked. It was just like a yes moment. I've had people that I was going to call a friend to ask a question, and I pick up the phone. This has been about 20 years ago, and she's on the other end of the phone, ready to answer the same question I wanted to ask. So it's a sense of that faith in faith, where you just trust that you're always being guided. And then what you find is it shows up in these synchronistic little ways, just little tiny synchronicities that are amazing and quite honestly life-changing, because they are so small.
I don't know what it is about the feathers and birds, but that's it for me too. I don't know, Jeffrey, if you say feathers, then we've got a consensus about the feathers. Thank you, Patty. Tell us, Jeffrey, what your answer is to this.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll save my feather stories actually for another day, just to add a little variety. I have them. Yeah. So when I even think about the word soul, like when I just start to feel into the word, I start to move internal. Like I start to go inward, and things start to get quiet. So for me, like learning the language of the soul is quite counter to the world and society that I think we live in, where everything outside of us is it's so bright, it's so loud. Like we have, 1,000 different projects and goals and texts and social media things, all sorts of things coming at us from that outside all day long, and it's very loud. So really learning the language of the soul is, I think, it's that practice of beginning to turn the focus and attention inward, to begin to listen to that which is actually internal. Because it's through what's internal that we can actually connect with our own selves. That's where the soul resides, and through the soul we have access to our own personal infinity. So I think as we sort of even begin that practice, it can feel maybe very subtle. You know, if this is something brand new to us, like it can feel very subtle. And earlier, Laura, I was thinking of where you were talking about, you know, some of the listeners might be saying, oh, you know, people are having these deep, crazy, wild, energetic experiences. And like, I don't maybe have that in my life. And, you know, you spoke to the fact that we've been doing this for a while and it's what our lives are committed to. But so even just beginning that sort of turn inward, it can be very, very subtle in the beginning. And we're all unique, so there's different ways that we'll, you know, connect with our own soul. But for me, it's really just turning inward, and really with the purpose of accessing my greater self, my infinity, that which is me, but is far beyond my like ordinary singular sense of identity.
Oh, that's so perfect. It's so, so perfect, really, to leave everybody with the practice, the actual, what do I do now? Well, what if you just have 5 minutes to get still and quiet and find a space where you can turn all the devices off and close your eyes if you can, right? Some of you, I know that's challenging even to close your eyes, but the more still, the more quiet, the faster you will have access to that. I'm not going to sit here and say that's easy, because it's not some days. And the world has been through so much. We all have had trauma and tragedy and different experiences, and that was before the last 3 to 4 years where we were piled on. And so I think what Jeffrey is saying is probably the most important message. Remember to get quiet again and listen to that voice inside. Go inward. This gets said to us so often, so many times, that I think now it's like, oh yeah, go within, but that's the answer, right? Anything else you want to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else do you guys want to say about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the reason why it's so important that we're talking about this is like, this is not the way the world and society is like naturally constructed. We're taught to seek things outside of ourselves. That's how we grow up. That's how like all the systems are, at least in the United States where we're from, you know, it's like how the society is arranged. And so I think it's empowering and really radical to actually turn within and find your hope, find your healing, find your answers within your own self, because we're always here. We're always us. You know, our parents, our friends, people on the outside of us might not always be there. They might let us down. But if we can learn to turn to our own selves, it's just like, it's radically self-empowering. And that's why I just love all that we've been talking about today, and you know, all of the practices in our book that people shared. Yeah, just any opportunity to turn within is so, yeah, those are my words. It's like radically self-empowering.
I love it. I love radically self-empowering, big time. That is it. That is it. And we're grabbing hands around here, you guys, and doing that together. And that's what's making the ride so much more fun. Kimberly said it earlier, you are not alone. Jeffrey, Kimberly, Patty, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Laura.
And thank you for what you do, Laura.
Yes.
Very important.
That is my total pleasure to get to play in the sandbox with the likes of you guys all day long. Like, this is a dream. It's why I was born. You guys, I know that something that you might have heard today gave you the goosebumps. Maybe you are resonating, maybe you have a question, you're just curious and want to continue the conversation. This is so much more than a book that we're crafting. This is a generous community of master healers and teachers. Drop down into the show notes because I have them hooked up with their websites, their links. They are there for you to ask that question, to carry on the conversation. Maybe you need some support with whatever is going on with you. So please go explore their sites and their links. And of course, you're invited to our book launch party for Love Initiation. We're going to have all of our co-authors and our lead authors there. It's going to be, of course, it's going to be February 14th on Valentine's Day for Love Initiation.
Woohoo!
Yeah, why not, right? 10 a.m. Eastern. There's some information down below about the party. You're welcome to join us on Zoom. And if you happen to be listening to this interview anytime after that date, that just means you can get over to Amazon and grab your copy of this beautiful book. Lastly, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank
Good
you.